You've tuned into Heroes Wanted. I am your host, Joe Prim. In this episode, we are going to talk hero theory as we scratch the surface on the origin story of one of the great heroes of the Bible, Gideon. Stick around, and I'll catch you on the other side of the intro.
The comfort and distractions of today collide to indulge our desires and provide a slow death by apathy. A superior primitive ethos exists. Prepare for tomorrow. Defend what you value and lead those you love. This mindset is the foundation of living an authentic life as a bold, disciplined man resolute in your mission. Prepare, defend, lead. Your mission. Own it.
All right, here we go. Welcome 2022. I'm not exactly sure why. I think I know, but I am very excited about this year. I mean, really excited. I feel like things are, after 5 or 6 years of doing this podcast and developing ideas and writing a book and recording many podcasts, I'm finally starting to understand better myself what I'm trying to do here, where this mission needs to go. And first thing I'm going to say in this episode is please help out. Please subscribe. Please share this podcast. And please leave some reviews. Those are 3 things that you can do. I know you got a lot going on, but those are 3 ways that you can contribute to this mission and pushing it forward. We're in the middle of a bit of a rebranding here from Prepare.Defend.Lead to Heroes Wanted. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of like a remodeling project, like the kitchen's halfway done and some of the cabinets are up and the floor is partially in and the plumbing isn't done yet, but the stove is hooked up and ready to roll. So bear with me as I change things around here a little bit. The focus and the vision here has never changed, but the mission and the way that I've gone about the mission continues to evolve, as I change, as I see the world around me change and what is needed. And really, since the inception of Prepare.Defend.Lead, as I took some time off and quit Ever Vigilant, what grew out of that was the understanding that I need to focus myself on me and in turn need to help you guys focus in on yourself. Because the more craziness, the more chaos, the more silliness that's going on in the world around us, the more obvious it becomes that we have little control over what's truly going on, the more obvious it becomes that we need to grab a hold of ourselves, the way that we talk, the way that we walk, the way that we carry ourselves, the words that come out of our mouth, the way that we treat other people, the way that we treat our responsibilities as husbands, as fathers, as leaders in our congregations and in our communities, that we need to put our focus on ourselves. Not in a selfish way, but in a way with the complete understanding that I have control over myself. I have control over the words that come out of my mouth. I have control over the actions. I have control over my attitude. And I have control over the way that I handle situations and deal with relationships. Those responsibilities are on me. And because of that, I control it. I need to learn how to become better at doing that. And that's where the hero focus comes in. We're going to talk some on hero theory in this episode. But I'm really excited about some things that are happening. I'm going to save those announcements for the end of this episode. So if you've been listening for a while and you want to understand where this podcast is going or some different ways to help out, and also a ton of free stuff that I'm giving you guys here at the beginning of this year, because I want to give value. I want to give back to you, and one of those things includes a lot of time and efforts that went into resurrecting all 180 plus episodes of Ever Vigilant and putting them someplace where you guys can access them for free. And that took some effort, but I put a lot of time and energy into those interviews and into what went into each and every one of those broadcasts or podcasts. And I want to give that back to you guys because there is so much wisdom and so much value that can be taken back out of that I wanted to make sure that it's there for you. So over these last few weeks here, as this month came to an end and I took some time off of work, got to spend some time with my family, importantly, and ran reruns on a few episodes of PDL. But it gave me some time to refresh my mission here, to think things through, to gather my ideas, and make a plan for moving this mission forward. But one thing that was really cool that we got to do during this time here from Thanksgiving to the end of December was watch a series on Disney Plus about Hawkeye, the Avenger. And it's kind of cool if you are into the Marvel movies at all, or even if you're not. Disney started doing some series of TV shows that tie into all of the Marvel movies. And they've done a really good job of tying everything together and bringing in different characters from different places. And they've done a real slick job of making that world continually grow bigger and introduce new heroes and new people and new enemies and bringing in people from other places that you recognize. And they've done a real clever job about it. And Hawkeye has always been my favorite Avenger. And he's always been my favorite Avenger because he's just a regular guy. He is just a regular guy. He's honed his skills. He's trained himself. He's a disciplined man. But in the reality, he would just as soon spend time with his family on the farm as anything else. And it became very evident how important his family was to him when everybody disappeared, when Thanos snapped his fingers. I don't want to get too much into what Marvel's got going on there, but he turned very violent at that point in his story, turned into a character named that was called Ronin, and just went around the globe killing a lot of gangsters and a lot of very bad people. And I could relate to that. I could relate to the violence and the heartache and the difficulty of moving forward and moving on with your life with what was most important to you all of a sudden gone. So I've really liked this character, Hawkeye, for a long time. Like I said, been my favorite Avenger. But at the very end of this series, which is kind of interesting because it introduces what will probably be the future Hawkeye with a character named Kate, as Hawkeye's broken down and tired out and wore out and I think just ready to spend some time with his family. And Kate, towards the end of this episode, is just having a sincere moment, a sincere talk with Hawkeye. And she says, "You showed me that being a hero isn't just for people who can fly or shoot lasers out of their hands. It's for anyone who is brave enough to do what's right, no matter the cost." And it hit home. Because if you are going to be a leader, if you are going to be a hero, there will be a cost. Some people aren't going to like you. Some people are going to hate you. But the reality is you must take the responsibility serious and must make the difficult decisions when they need to be made with whatever information that you may have at that time. And it really hit home with me that thought of separating superheroes from heroes. In the realization that I believe that we were created to be put on this planet to be what would be considered heroes. I believe that that's why we're here. I believe my definition of a hero is somebody who serves the greater good, that goes above and beyond in an area and serves the greater good. Now, some people confuse a badge or a uniform with somebody being a hero. In fact, the term hero is thrown out there pretty willy-nilly these days, and I don't want to fall into that trap. But what I also want to push further is the thought that it's one thing to be a hero in one area of your life, but I believe that we are called to more. We need to work our butts off to become heroes in all areas of our life, whether that be leading in our community, whether that be as a father, whether that be as a husband. It is our obligation to go above and beyond what is expected and serve others. That is my definition of a hero. Maybe varies a little bit from what's in the dictionary, but we all know that Webster seems to change by the day as our society changes. Problem is that most of you guys are just going through the motion. Life has become like the bottle of shampoo. Just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, day after day. You lack confidence. You don't believe in yourself or believe yourself because you lie to yourself regularly. You're going to stop doing this or you're going to start doing that. And a week later or a couple days later or even an hour later, you're back to what you told yourself you weren't going to do. But the reality is time is not on your side. Minute by minute is passing by. And with each minute that passes by are your opportunities to change your life. Are your opportunities to change your relationships with your kids? Are your opportunities drift away to save your marriage before it's lost? It is time to uncover the hero within. It is time to go to battle with the lies and the fears and the expectations of other people that have buried that hero. We'll continue getting into more of those thoughts and more of those ideas as Heroes Wanted expands, but I want to dive into the origin story, one of my absolute favorite stories and characters in the Bible, Gideon. Now, I'm going to read right from the Bible in this, and we'll continue next week into kind of what it meant to all of a sudden become a hero with all eyes on Gideon. But I want to begin this off because right from the get-go, Gideon is saying some of the same things that you are saying to yourself. So let's start out. This is in Judges 6. And go ahead. I'd say after you're done listening to this podcast, this week, dig out your Bible or dig out your Bible app and read through Judges 6 and read the story of Gideon because it is a good one. It says, again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. And for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites. Because the power of the Midian was so oppressive, the Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. Whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples invaded the country. They camped on the land and ruined the crops all the way to Gaza and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep, nor cattle, nor donkeys. They came up with their livestock in their tents like swarms of locusts. It was impossible to count the men and their camels. They invaded the land to ravage it. Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. So a lot of times when we read through the Bible, or we read through even history, even as early as we go back to read something about the Revolutionary War, we kind of skip over these parts like I just read through because we're in a big hurry to get to the character. And it reminds me of when I read a book to my kids and we'll pick out a new book and the first couple chapters, it's complaints about how boring it is, how it's not interesting. But the reality is the author must paint a picture of what the world looks like. Whether it's Tolkien or whether it's C.S. Lewis or anybody else that ever writes a story, the first chapter or two are just painting a picture of what the world looks like at that time, of getting to have some sort of understanding of who the characters involved in that story are. And once you understand what the world is like, you can and begin to understand what the characters in the story are like, then you can begin to embrace the story that goes along with it. So these beginning chapters in these places in the Bible or in history books, must be paid attention to because they're painting a picture of the world that that character is living in. And if you do not understand the world that that character is living in, you're missing out on why things are the way they are, what that character has lived with, what has made that character who they are, what has given them the reasoning and the why they make the choices they make. And this is real short, but it gives a clear view of how devastating the Midianite people are to the Israelites in this story. They're ravaging everything. A donkey, cattle, any crops that they see are destroyed. The Israelites are hiding in strongholds and in caves, anywhere where they can get away, that they can make it difficult to access them. This is a period of complete and utter fear. Unlike different times in history, like when the Romans conquered a lot of areas and a lot of other great conquering nations would come in and they realized that I can't completely subdue these people. I'll let them keep some of their religions, keep some of their traditions, and what we will do is we will expect them to pay taxes and to bow before our gods maybe, but otherwise we're going to let them kind of live a regular life. That is not what's happening here. These people want to wipe the Israelites off the face of the earth, and that is what they're trying to do. So that's just a little picture of the world in which Gideon grew up in. It says, when the Israelites cried to the Lord because of Midian, he sent them a prophet who said, "This is what the Lord and the God of Israel says. I brought you up out of Egypt and out of the land of slavery." So as we move forward in the story, it says, an angel of the Lord came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah. Let me switch here. I'm actually reading out of the legit book. It says, so the angel comes and it says, Gideon was threshing wheat in a wine press to keep it from the Midianites. So even right now, in the moment of what Gideon is doing, he is inside of a wine press, which would be like a low height wall, probably in a radius walls put up, and threshing the wheat that he's growing in there to keep it hidden from the Midianites. So Gideon is in the middle of doing something that he wouldn't normally do, right? You would normally plant your crops out where everybody could see them and they could get all the sunshine and all the rain and be easy to tend to. But he's growing probably a very small amount of wheat within this wine press to keep it hidden from the Midianites. So in the middle of this act, in the middle of hiding what he's trying to do out of fear, it says an angel shows up on the scene. And the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon and he says to him, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Some people translate it into mighty hero. The Lord is with you. And Gideon looks over at this angel. I can just imagine how surprised he must have been. He says, "But sir, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all the wonders that our fathers told us about? Did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and put us into the hand of Midian." So an angel shows up in the middle of nowhere, right? The Israelites had been living on an evil track, on an evil path for some time. Things start to get very difficult for them. Some people begin to pray and plead to God to help them because things have gotten so bad. Gideon, who's going to be the key player, the protagonist in this story, is hiding what he's doing, making food, and an angel shows up, calls him a mighty warrior, and the first words out of Gideon's mouth are a victim story. Well, if God is with us, then why has all this happened to us? So I'm not going to claim that I am an angel of the Lord speaking to you about your need to rise up to uncover the hero within you. But I'm going to point out that the chances of you coming upon this podcast and listening to this podcast and me talking about what I'm talking about today that you are listening to are probably less than you winning the lottery this next week. So please realize that these words are intended for you, either for you or maybe for you to share or for you to start to meditate, pray about, and think on. So the first move Gideon makes is to cry out as a victim. Well, if I'm a mighty hero, then why has all this stuff happened? If you're actually God, then why are you allowing this stuff to happen to us? You know, with all this woke ideas in our society and all these victim mentality in our society today, must realize that none of this stuff is new. Stuff goes back a long way. So don't look at your life and immediately call out that you're a victim. God has put you where you are for a purpose. You are there for a reason. It's not to be a victim. So he goes on. Lord turned to him and said, "Go in strength and have and save Israel out of the Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" And Gideon's response again. "But Lord," Gideon asked, "how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." So he goes from being a victim, gets some reassurances from God, and immediately goes into excuses and doubt. How can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family. And the Lord's response is, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites together." So in the next episode of Heroes Wanted, we will dig a little deeper into what happens when you decide to trust and to move forward as a hero in your life, in the lives of your children, in the lives of your community, in the lives of those in your congregation. Because there comes a time of testing. But as you begin and start out this year, don't let your past or the past become a victim story that holds you back and stops you from moving forward in your purpose. And don't let excuses or doubt hold you back from moving forward. You're not alone in that. You're not alone in feeling like a victim. Here's a perfect example in the Bible of one of the great heroes. But his first reaction was to fall back on his history and on the history of his country and the fact that he was a victim. And then his second move is to make excuses and to show his doubt. Again, he was reassured that he would be able to do and fulfill his purpose, as I believe that you will be able to fulfill your purpose and move forward in faith. As I promised in the beginning, we have a lot going on here as I change things around just a little bit with this podcast. There will be some things that change, like the podcast cover and probably the intro down the road, and maybe the focus will change somewhat in this podcast. Some of the things you will hear, some of the things you will see, and some of the things that you will experience. But I wanted to make sure that early on, you guys know that the next Strength Through Adversity 12-hour walk down here in Hill Country, Texas, will be on March 5th. Again, March 5th, we'll be walking from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. We did the first ever, the inaugural one, in December. It was a great success. I think I got a couple of people lined up already to do this one in the beginning of March before it gets too hot down here in Texas. And there's going to be very limited room. So if you are interested, reach out, contact me as soon as possible. Let me know that you're interested. I'll get you the full details. But I want to keep this group small. I want to, during that 12 hours, forge relationships with those that join us, and that it would be a worthwhile time for everyone that's involved. As I mentioned early in this podcast episode, all 180 plus episodes of Ever Vigilant are now available for you to download and listen to. I am using a new website, or I shouldn't say website, but a new app. It's kind of like Patreon, but they gave me the opportunity to have a store, which gave me the opportunity to have podcasts available for download and give away some of these things that I want to give away at the beginning of this year. So if you go to co-fi, coffee.com/Heroes Wanted, you'll see my page. Coffee will serve as the base camp for Heroes Wanted moving forward, and I'll utilize this page to inform and equip you for your journey. All of the content on Coffee, Prepare.Defend.Lead.com/Heroes Wanted will be free for everyone for the first quarter of 2022. My goal is to provide so much value during that period that you will stick around once some of the parts become available to members only. Right now, free on that website, you can find the Alpha Orders 12-week program that came out back in 2019. It was a 12-week program. Each week I sent out a newsletter style email, and that email had some Bible reading, had some focus on some spiritual growth, had some focus on some challenges, and during that time we were reading through Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, and then I had some commentary on each chapter as we worked our way through that book. So it was a really cool program. I put a lot of efforts into making it something that we could get something out of as I was experiencing it at the same time as I was sending it out. So that program is available once again to download there. 180 plus episodes of Ever Vigilant. My book, Open, 6 Life-Changing Principles. The PDF version is available there. That's how this all started, how this all began, really, with my transformation and my looking at life differently. You can find that book in the PDF version there as well. You can find the quick and dirty guide to the 6 life-changing principles. I mention them often in this podcast. If you're just not quite sure what in the world I'm talking about, you can check out that quick and dirty guide to get into what it is that are these 6 principles that I think can change your life. We got a Heroes Wanted Discord channel, which will give us the opportunity to converse and share things and talk and get to know one another. And that'll be the place where I share things first. As we build a community up there, I think it's a much better platform than Facebook for conversing and for me to share things with you guys. Again, ko-fi.com. You can search for Heroes Wanted. That's coffee.com. But we also have some things coming up here in February and March. And that will be a men's Bible study, book reading group that we will do via Zoom. That'll happen each week, and it will build off of there again. Everything I'm going to bring off of that platform at coffee.com. We'll be doing a men's mastermind group. This will be different than anything you've ever experienced before. So it'll be way different, way out there. This is going to have a real premium put on using our time wisely and on building one another up and helping one another grow. I will also be starting in February a second podcast in the vein of the Guerrilla Traffic Cast that I did years back. Just me sharing some raw, unfiltered, unscripted, and unedited thoughts on my commute home. So those are some of the things you have to look forward to this year in this first quarter coming out from Heroes Wanted, and some of the things that are already available at coffee.com/Heroes Wanted. Everything will be available for free on there for the first quarter of this year. I want to completely show my hand, what I'm doing, what my objectives are, what my goals are for what's going on with Heroes Wanted moving forward. And then I would like to hear your thoughts, your feedback there on where you could use some direction, some things that you're thinking about. Because me coming on this podcast and just talking, if it's not relevant to you, if it's not helping you get the results that you want in your life, if it's not moving the needle for you and challenging you and encouraging you to move forward, then I'm failing in my mission. As I mentioned early on too, please subscribe, share, and review this podcast. I'm looking forward to an awesome year in 2022. We got some things that we'll be tweaking, some things that we'll be changing, but I am pumped about what we have going on here and how this is going to play out moving forward. I'm thankful for you guys. Some of you guys have been listening to this podcast for a long time, through thick and thin, through times where it was sparse and hard to find this podcast because it took a long time for me to create more episodes. There's some of you guys who transitioned when I quit and when I was done and I needed a break there after Ever Vigilant. And some of you guys jumped from Ever Vigilant into what I've been doing with PDL. And I appreciate that. I'm grateful for it. And my hope and my desire and my prayer is that Heroes Wanted will continue to be a part of your life, will continue to push you forward, and will continue to create men that are putting an emphasis each and every day in their lives and becoming better men, becoming better fathers and husbands and leaders in their community and in their congregation, because we know right now this is what is needed. A remnant to stand up, to be bold, to stand up for what is right in the face of so much being wrong, to not be afraid and to lead and make the difficult decisions that need to be made in order to move forward. And along with all that I'm moving on to coffee.com. You can also follow the day-to-day of what's going on as I share some thoughts and quotes and ideas and pictures from around the homestead and life down here in Texas. Is you can follow me on Instagram at Prepare.Defend.Lead. If you're interested in some one-on-one coaching or group coaching, as I build up a list that are interested in group coaching, you can go to Prepare.Defend.Lead.com. In the menu there, you can find another place to access the free guide, my book, or the podcast. But as you scroll through that page there at Prepare.Defend.Lead.com, you will get a better idea of what Heroes Wanted is all about, what the coaching program is all about. And if you get down to the end of that page after you've read through everything and you're fired up and ready to rock and roll and saying, you know what? I'm ready to make some changes. I'm ready to go about things a little bit differently. I'm ready to take on the challenge and uncover that hero that's within. Down at the bottom of the page, you'll find a calendar. You can set up a time to have a conversation with me. Figure out how we can work together so that you can have somebody to come alongside you, somebody to listen to you, somebody to hold you accountable, and somebody to help you uncover that hero within. Now there is a calendar, set up a date, fill out the application, and let's start out 2022 swinging. As always, hold fast. God bless.